Hello and welcome to another edition of Souq Business Landscape, where we bring you stories that matter from Africa and beyond. I am Olumide Sokoya, and of course, I'm not the only one doing it today. I also have
Oyinpreye Krumale.
My name is Omobola Sandra.
Chooks, John Rogers, Chooks.
Very much welcome, gentlemen, and of course,
Lady.
So we begin. We begin with the bold economic shift from the presidency in a sweeping move to ban the importation of goods that can be made locally. Now, from now on, all government agencies must prioritize Nigerian-made products. This is part of President Tinubu's renewed hope agenda, and it's already sparking debate among industry players and policy watchers. To education, the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAMB, is under fire, after admitting a technical glitch that affected nearly 380,000 UTME candidates. JAMB's offer of limited receipt hasn't gone down well. Students and stakeholders are calling for a full retake, warning that anything less threatens the integrity of the entire examination process. And in Lagos, a civil service scandal is unfolding. 30% of civil servants sent abroad for training never returned, a worrying trend linked to Nigeria's ongoing brain drain, or what many now call the Japa phenomenon. These are the top stories right here on Souq Business Landscape. So I'll start with Omobola. Which of these stories interest you or excites you the most?
Oh, well, it has to be the JAMB story. It has to be the JAMB story. A lot of people have been applauding Professor Olumide for, taking the bull by the horn, coming out to apologize, to everyone, and then also calling for a receipt of some of the centers. But did it have to take a kidnap, a suicide, and a massive, or mass depression, situation for institutions to rise up to occasions? I feel like coming from a federal institution, first off, the apology was wishy-washy. It wasn't what it was supposed to be. It wasn't what we expected from a federal institution, first off. But, and then now saying that, the few centers that are affected, these exams ran from about April 24th till May 5th. Are you telling me that between April 24th to May 5th, this glitch was not observed on any of those days for there to have been a pause or, a halt of the exams? Oh, we've noticed on the first day that there's a glitch or whatnot. We need to quickly do something about it. So every other person, hold on. You had to finish the entire exams, and then the results came out before you now observe that, oh, there's a glitch. We need to do something. Everything about this is, the whole situation is just very anyhowness.
Krumale, what's your take on all these three stories?
Okay, first of all, the JAMB saga by Olumide. I think I'm going to, tilt toward the part of people that will sing the praise of the helmsman at the affairs of JAMB. Olumide is someone who has really proved his mettle. Yes, his worth is salt. And
because he apologized.
But the thing is, nobody is above mistake, and he has acknowledged that. So I think if you put him in the scale, he's on the balance, and so I won't fault him for that. However, we can blame JAMB for not doing that bit correctly. However, I'm not going to.
Nobody's blaming Professor Olumide.
So, away from that, quickly to Lagos State, the civil service scandal.
Yes.
Japa.
Well, it's a conversation that has been on for
just yesterday or the day before.
Yes, we talked about that. However, for the civil service, those who are not coming back to the country, well, I think I'll call that criminal and the misconduct. However, they didn't do it without the collusion of other people who are administering the system, because they're from other information we got to hear that some of them still get their monthly salaries and their remuneration. So we need to look at it and really dissect the issues. And the other one, about Mr. President talking about Nigerian first policy and, putting a ban on goods that can be produced locally, which should not be brought into the country, putting ministries, departments, and agencies on the limelight. And it's something that is good. However, the list of these goods that the president, it's ambiguous when you say goods that are produced locally. So I think there should be specificity. And that's what we need to hear.
Over to you, Chuks.
Over to me on
any of the topics.
On any of the topics, which they all interest me, because if they don't interest us, we won't put it right now on the table. For the JAMB issue, it boils down to accountability from the top, not just JAMB. When we start seeing people are accountable and heads rolling, things will turn. For the made in Nigeria, well, we spoke about this, was it just yesterday or some days back? And right now, I think the president is trying to be specific. But now we still need more emphasis on what product, what services are we looking at turning, benefiting us, stopping. When we get into that particular discourse, we'll go down there. Then for the last one, which happens to be the opportunity that the Lagos is offering.
Is it an opportunity?
It is.
Is it an opportunity? They take you out for training for you to bring back the knowledge that you have acquired, and then apply it into the system in the country and help us to make things better. And then you get there and then you go.
Okay. So somebody gives you visa, pays for the accommodation.
It's the same way. So we're colleagues here, and then they send all of us abroad for a training, and then Mr. Krumale.
Because don't say Mr. Krumale. No. Because it's not going to be Mr. Krumale.
For integrity.
Exactly.
Oh, it's going to be someone else. You have someone in mind.
No. It's just Priye that won't be coming back. It's not Mr. Krumale.
Oh, okay.
So when we get into it, we'll get into it.
But I think I want to work with what Mr. Krumale said as regards the fact that there are people working with them.
Definitely.
Because they still get paid. There was a report that came out sometime last year as regards the fact that 3 years after, some people are still getting paid, despite the fact that they had relocated abroad, and they're still earning salary here in this country. It says a lot about the system here. It says a lot about the people that are, at the helm of affairs and all of that. And this is the same institution, or rather the same government that in a year we've had issues with almost 3 different accountants general. And one of them was complaining as regards, we can't afford to pay salaries. But then you have thousands of people that, they are earning salary for doing nothing. Ghost workers.
So these are living ghost workers.
Oh, yeah.
President Bola Tinubu has approved the Nigeria First policy, a major shift aimed at boosting local productions by banning importation of goods that can be made in Nigeria. Effective immediately, all government ministries, departments, and agencies, that's MDAs, must prioritize locally made products and services following new procurement rules. The move, recommended by the Director General of the Bureau of Public Procurement, Dr. Adebowale Adedokun, supports Tinubu's renewed hope agenda. Now, this analysts actually see it as a step forward, strengthening local industries, creating jobs, and cutting reliance on import. Detailed implementation guidelines are expected soon. Now, all MDAs must prioritize and source local products and services when awarding contracts. Procurement rules have been adjusted to favor local content, possibly by raising or modifying spending limits to enable quicker local sourcing. Now, the BPP will maintain a list of vetted Nigerian companies eligible for government contract. Also, procurement submissions must now include a plan that shows how local suppliers will be involved. The BPP will monitor compliance and review procurement plans to ensure MDAs are aligning with the policy. Implementation details and operational guidelines are expected soon. Now, according to Dr. Adebowale Adedokun, now starting with Krumale. Now, I'm looking at, this is a good move. Nigeria First policy, and also banning goods that you think might be made locally. But I'm looking at how other countries will react to this. Do we run the risk of possible retaliation? Countries imposing restrictions on goods that we are now exporting. What do you think?
Okay. Normally, there's going to be some form of response from other countries. However, I think that response would have been, limited, very, very, very limited in a way, if the current administration had sustained the ban that the former president placed on 52 items without removing that ban and that restriction. And there were things on that list that were very, very, it could be annoying. And sometimes I wonder if it is true that you see toothpick on those lists. Please, and I sometimes when I look at it, I feel like, oh, I don't think this is true. Maybe they are making this up, toothpick. And there are other items too in that 52. So President Muhammadu Buhari did that. What the administration was supposed to do when it came in was, to be oblivious to that list and to just move on and pick out other lists that was, because look at it now, you remove the bar from this one. After some time into your administration, you're not making this policy. Why the back and forth? Is this it demonstrates some form of confusion? I think we need to understand when we talk about policy, and if government is a continuum, we need to look at the previous policies that the previous administration had done that is beneficial to the economy as we speak, which we can only augment or review, then turn it to be better to fit the current realities. But we didn't do that. Also, one other aspect I would like to entertain is that I said before in the introduction that there's this ambiguity surrounding that list. Is there you just said goods that can be produced locally. So you should have mentioned the names.
Thank you.
Just the way you are planning in administrating this policy, you said all possible manufacturers of these local goods are going to be put in a database, and the BPP, the Bureau of Public Procurement, is going to be having dealings with them so that every ministry, department, and agencies that want to, ship or ask for these supplies from this, and they felt like, okay, none of these organizations that we have in this database actually produce this product. So now we need to go source them abroad. Then you write the Bureau of Public Enterprise and say, okay, we need a waiver for this. And I don't think they are just going to grant it, because they will have to carry out some form of preliminary investigation to ascertain the veracity of that claim. I think the government should have done better.
All right. Omobola, now this is a very good policy, but I'm looking at the quality of the goods that will be made in Nigeria. Would they be able to meet standard and, if possible, compete with international goods that are produced outside the country? What do you think about that?
If we have an amazing environment, if the environment is encouraged by policies and reforms, they should be able to churn out quality products. However, my question is, all of these local suppliers, how are they doing? The economic climate in the country at this time now is not really favorable for a lot of businesses. All through last year, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria was crying and lamenting as regards, operational costs and, what it is like to sustain, to have a business, to run a business in this country. So you have energy, you have power, you have overhead, human resources, you have so many things that you have to, procurement of raw materials to, get a finished product. So many things that need to be considered. Do these businesses, these local suppliers that we're looking at, them now providing or supplying, all of these items, is the economic climate, is it strong enough for them to, run their business at this time now? That is a very, very big question, and I think we need to ask now. Taxes are coming on board as well. Businesses are already struggling with so many things, and then taxes are coming on board. How are they going to be able to get past all of that? And then the bureaucracy, at the level of the BPP, can we trust that, there won't be nepotism, there won't be racketeering, I don't have to speak with a certain boss before I can get certain contracts and all of that. The vetting process, who's going to be in charge of that? The register for the local suppliers, how do we know that actual business owners in Nigeria are the ones, Nigerians owning businesses are the ones that are on that register, and not that, let's not have a Malta situation, if you know what I mean.
All right, over to you, Chooks. I know we have a dragon of consumers in Nigeria, but I'm looking at a situation whereby demand exceeds supply. What happens then?
Well, demand exceeds supply, prices will go up.
So how will we be able to cater for? How will we be able to cater?
There is an adage in Africa that says, when one wakes up, that is his or her money. We've made a whole lot of mistake in the past. And if we say this is where we want to go, and the president now, in continuation of what he said before, now said this starts now, it affects a lot of sectors. Because the first thing you have to be able to now say, okay, let's start with food. How do we put food on the table? How do we get them to farm more? How do we get them to produce more? Okay, now how do we turn those particular primary products to secondary products? How can we get textile? If every single one of us seated here now, we are all wearing something that came out of this country. It might have been designed here, but... So these are key areas where economies look at. What are the consumer goods that are most sought after?
Fast-moving
How
FMCGs.
can we get our own people to produce them? Now, if we also look at this, I don't want to use some negative words. A lot of the companies, a lot of the manufacturers are also here, are not Nigerian companies. So there's a whole lot of things to deal with. For the goods themselves, before we now be saying what government is going to patronize or not, the earlier we get our people productive, the faster we cut inflation, the faster we create more jobs. Now, we might not be able to meet the target at once, but let us start. It's not going to be fun. We'll feel the pain because we have an appetite that foreign goods have satisfied over a long period of time, and we need to cut it. Whether we like it or not, we need to cut it. Because we have the money to just get into the market and buy. Somebody else is servicing that market, and it is not us. That is where the sad thing is. So tomorrow, if there happens, okay, typical example, the Ukraine issue, and there was problem with wheat. What happened to bread? So these are issues we need to start sorting out ourselves. Once we start consuming, even if it's 10, 20, 30% of made in Nigeria goods, I promise you, in the short while, inflation will go down. Insecurity will reduce. Because when I'm busy, my mind is also busy. I won't be thinking of going to kidnap Mr. Popola's son for money. So this is the right direction. But now let's see what other policies will support production. Because that's where we need to get.
I think, I'm sorry, but maybe it's just me. Because sometime last year, there was an executive order given as regards, importation of rice.
Yes.
Right? People can bring in rice. Or let's have people at home providing rice.
Yes.
And then the customs guys came up with their own guidelines. Oh, if you don't have a certain amount of these tons, you have to be able to mill a certain amount of tons. You have to own a certain, mill in the country. You have to do that. And with those guidelines, everybody just backed out and said, I'm not interested. I'm this is too much. So even if, because you just mentioned that, oh, it's a good one, let's, see how we don't even know what exactly it is that they're going to be purchasing from these local suppliers. We don't know. Mr. Krumale mentioned it earlier. What are the items that we're going to be focusing on? So when you say local suppliers, anything that can be produced in Nigeria is what we should get access to. That's very, very...
That's a bit vague, right?
Yes.
Okay, now let's start with your rice. Niger State alone can feed Nigeria, Niger, Cameroon, Ghana, the entire West Africa when it comes to rice. Land mass, fertile land, and the people. Now, if there is a policy, a federal policy, not a state policy, a federal policy that empowers people to move to Niger State and farm rice, other countries have done it. It's just a matter of time. We say, okay, in 6 months, it's three months harvest. In 6 months, we'll have 2 harvests circles. Okay, now let's get them not just fadama. Now let's give them irrigation, and they will farm rice all through the year. And say in 1 year, our rice importation should go down by 75%. We will do it. But are we ready to do it?
Okay, but Chooks, you know, when you give an example about Niger State, so the question we should be asking, how many farmers do we currently have in Niger State who are farming rice? Now the question is rhetoric. It has the potential, which you have very well described. But so how many do we have? Because some of this, even if that is true, some of them, there are local challenges.
Well, then pay taxes to bandits.
That's even where I'm going. So there are
true.
local challenges that would prevent this smooth running and harnessing those advantages that we have. So in Buhari's administration, he went and said, and one of those things that he banned was rice. He said, let us eat what we produce, let us turn to the local market. And for example, let's just say the local rice then was 20,000 naira. I'm just making, so let's just say it was 25,000 naira, and the foreign rice was selling for 40,000 naira or
7,000
or thereabout. Yes, I'm just trying to paint the disparity in prices. Immediately, President Buhari banned that, and the Nigerian customs were at the borders to make sure that foreign rice does not get into the soil of Nigeria. What happened? The price of the local rice skyrocketed immediately.
But you know why that happened?
Oh, okay, but you're talking about the demand and supply.
Of course, yes. You don't create policies that way by immediately stopping.
If the government had created that policy for the good of the people, for the good of the local producers, in other way, the government is trying to even strangulate importers because it is doing harm to our economy. And it is not strangulating businessmen, but say it's trying to promote local businessmen who are accessing local products and local raw materials to make sure that they grow, which is part of the responsibility of the executive and the government. I mean, that's a different case.
We're still lost on the point, the fact that even though we want to have locally produced rice.
No, I'm going to the standards.
Okay.
One of the reasons why people felt like Avicon is because they felt the local rice, the standard is quite low compared to yes, because they said it is not well milled, because you can still find stones, you can find shafts.
Wash it.
Now, let's get somewhere. Let's take our minds back. Now, importation is easy. It's business, but it's easy. It's buying and selling. Now, also know that the people you are importing from, you are just the market, and they have to push and sell to you. Let's go back to when we started this particular democratic process, this dispensation of Obasanjo. When he came in, he gave fruit juice. If you remember very well, 90% of the fruit juice in this country were all imported. He gave them 6 to 1 year to stop importation. What happened? Coca-Cola, 7-Up, Chivita, Fawn, all of them established. Dangote. I don't know if you understand. That is what we have now. But they all came at that particular period. Now, the time frame he gave them was enough to create farms, to create possible ways of getting extracts and powder. So everybody had their own establishment. And before we knew what was happening, that importation almost grounded to a halt. And we had the same fruit juice. It's the same thing. If we have a policy, if we have a very good policy that says, okay, good, for this particular product or for this particular brand, you have this amount of time. We are giving you this amount of technical support or this amount of financial support over this period of time. And by this period, we want to see this result. We will achieve it as a people.
That's just rice. I'm so sorry. Yes,
no, it's for other products too.
For everything, it all still, but there's still a lot that from the federal government that still needs to be done.
Definitely. From the people too.
From the people too. If you're talking about food items, how many people are still going to farms? We still have so much farmers. You still have situations where
then we need to start talking about food and farming.
Yeah, we need to go back to that. We need to talk about that. We have a lot of, resources in abundance, as a matter of fact, But the question is, how many farmers do we still have? Farmers, people that are proud to go and say, "Oh, I'm a farmer. I go to the farm, and I'm able to do this. I'm able to achieve that." That's a big question. And aside from that, are we sure that our guys at the top would also eat local rice?
It's local rice.
It's not difficult. It's not. I remember the other day we were talking about refining crude.
Yes.
It's not difficult.
When you say it's not difficult,
It's not.
we still have government functionaries still going outside for medical. So,
Of course,
saying it's not difficult.
Now, that's the next question. That's the next line of action. Are we going to see the president also say no to this?
That's our job.
That's where we are heading to.
That's our
so
job.
are we going to act, dear Mr. President? Now we are towing the line of let's
put in Nigeria first.
Thank you very much. Now, are we going to put
stay in National
Ikoyi General Hospital? What's the Children's Hospital here? Lekki General Hospital, Odon General Hospital, Yaba General Hospital.
Well,
all those general, I'm going to put them first.
Well, to be fair,
upgrade them and let Nigerians and politicians
to be fair,
use them.
To be fair, this is directed at ministries, departments, and agencies.
So,
this is directed at ministries, departments, and agencies. And also the fact that it is looking at things that they use.
Yes, for project executions.
Exactly. Things that they use for project execution. Is Nigeria not supposed to be the largest or second largest producer of bitumen or whatnot, for what they use, which is a major thing they use in construction of roads and all of that. So I think that's the focus for
on
them.
those statistics.
I think that is the focus. Okay. I think that's the focus for them. Okay. If the BPP is involved. I think that's the focus for them. All right. So if we're looking at the things that MDAs would necessarily need, let's go to the budget. What are those things that are in their budgets per ministry? What do you need in this ministry? What do you need in this ministry? I think that is what.
Do you know that
their focus is on?
Sorry to jump in.
We're with you.
Yeah. Do you know when we talk about rice and go to some parts of the north and count the number of IDP camps that we have, and the federal government through the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs cater to the needs of these people. And when the food comes, it comes in staples as gari, cassava flour, as rice, as beans. So if the government already has a contractor who deals that, or someone has won the contract to provide this food, including the school children feeding program that most northern states involve in. The government provides those food. That means there's supposed to be a local farm that the government contractor or that contractor needs to visit to be able to buy that food in a subsidized amount of money to be able to cook on a daily, like Monday to Friday, for those students. And sometimes when they show the food on, you see rice and you see egg in it. So let's say you're going there, let's say egg, and we're talking about poultry. If you import these food items from outside the country, that money, that billions have been voted in the budget of both the federal and some of the state government that are involved in that activity, leaves this economy and provides job, expand the poultry and other farms in other countries that have been supplying those products to us. And that is not good for our economy, because when we do that, the local farms that have not been ransacked by bandits here, that are still surviving in business, will not have large incomes to expand, to employ more people to work in the farms. And that is a grave disadvantage for Nigeria. So we should not even look at that. If we are making this policy this way. The other aspect that I want to address, that you are saying we are limiting this to public procurement,
ministries.
So I think there are diverse things when we start looking at these ministries individually. And medical supplies comes from abroad.
Yes, okay.
So what if the government is going to do something like this, if the government is going to tariff, maybe not outright ban, or maybe if the government bans.
A Trump-like situation?
Maybe if the government bans, maybe fine. But if there's going to be a backlash from other countries whose product will be massively received into the country, then the government should introduce a very high tariff. Very high tariff.
Because the sad thing about tariff is by the time you put tariff on
the reciprocation.
Apart from the reciprocation, the cost of the product.
Yes.
So who is going to pay?
We'll be able to afford it.
No. Because if we put okay.
So
what now?
How will we want to fight at the end of the day?
So what? No. But Mr. Chooks, you now resort to the local made products, and when you resort to the local made product, you indirectly expand the local industry. Now, this is where I'm going. What the government is supposed to do to remove tariff from some things that are coming into this country are what? Equipment and technology. Because we need that to facilitate local production. If you remove that from the Nigerian economy, those who are depending on those technology and equipment to come into the country to facilitate manufacturing inside will now die off. That is where we will suffer.
Okay, then also we also look at security and power.
Security, energy.
We're able to sort those two. A whole lot
and
of
power.
productivity.
Very, very, very important.
I'm also looking at procurement, contract procurement. We all know that if you go to an ordinary state ministry,
that's the racketeering I'm talking about. That's
you have to grease palms, you have to wet the ground.
That happens
I don't know.
If there would not be...
They want to grease palms. Why can't we just accept the fact that, things are going to work normally in government?
We are also not going to blindside. We would not also look away from the fact that there is a systemic corruption on ground that needs to be addressed as well.
Okay, so who monitors the BPP officials who will be responsible for putting this
Office of the Auditor General.
Those register in place, then is now looking at, okay, this ministry is going to, and you said, okay, yes, you want this, that, and the other to be imported into the country because that's going to lead to more price. And you're like, okay, we have these companies that are producing these goods here in Nigeria. Have you visited them? And they said yes, and they said no. There's a vetting process. So the board stops at the table of the Bureau of Public Procurement.
Not just them. We in the press. Now we need to look for extra batteries for those torchlights and shine it.
That's the
so any day we get to see any form of automobile that are not tractors for the farms or machineries for one particular industry coming in, we should shout and ask questions. Did you not see Bold? Did you not see Innocent? Did you not see any of those very Anamco and Co that are making these beautiful cars here? So this is where we should start from. When we see, we shout and ask questions.
Well, we shout.
To get new cars. The senators are going to get.
I was coming there. They're going to get new cars. So let's see.
2027 is far. Let's start from now. Of course, now see. Now, the president went this route of saying, okay, those working and we are paying in government start because we've told the people buy Nigeria. So let's start.
2027 is far. We're currently sitting. We're currently looking at. Let me not say sitting because it's not been approved. We're currently looking at, which is interesting because we're already in May, but it's fine. We're currently looking at a 54 trillion budget. All these ministries, they all have things that they want to purchase. They all have things like capital expenditures and co. Okay, so we can start from there. We can start from there. So this is what the Ministry of Works needs. This is, okay, so you look through, and then what are the things that are available in Nigeria? All the contractors that have come forward, I don't know if anybody is going forward. I don't know who the people are. Do you know anybody that's gone forward?
I have a suspicion.
Do you know anybody that's gone forward?
Not at the moment.
I want to know, I personally would like to know if there is anybody that I know that I can speak with, that I can see that has actually submitted proposal and has been accepted. Let it not be as if some people at the top is just within them.
Well, they used to publish tenders. We don't know if they still publish.
Oh, they
some publish. That's for those that have not bought before publishing. But we'll see if any of those tenders we get to see. We'll ask more questions. It's just let's
keep asking questions.
Let Nigerians buy made in Nigeria.
All right, so we'll move on to the next story. After JAMB Registrar Professor Ishaq Oloyede admitted a technical error that affected nearly 380,000 UTME candidates in Lagos State and Southeast, many students rejected the board's apology and are demanding a full receipt of the 2025 examination. They argue that limiting the retake to specific centers compromises fairness and damages the exam's credibility. Now, while JAMB has shared receipts in 157 centers, critics warn that a partial approach could disrupt university admissions and negatively impact both educational institutions and exam-related businesses. Krumale, let me start with you. Now, even though the video seems like, let me borrow Omobola's words, wish-wash or wishy-wash, coming in front of the camera and crying to say you're sorry and all that, and now you're saying you're going to receipt in some parts and not some parts.
Why was he crying?
We'll get to that topic later. Now you're saying you're going to receipt in some parts and in some parts and some will not receipt. Now, some people are now saying that let's do the entire examination again. What happens to those who scored 380, who scored well? Are you saying they should now receipt again?
Who scored well? We don't know anybody that scored well.
But
I'm so sorry, Mr. Krumale. I know it was directed at you, but there is already a heavy question mark on the entire JAMB process. So there is nobody that I trust with a good result now. Because if someone who is a biology lecturer wrote biology and scored 27 over 100 in biology, I'm questioning the person that has.
Why did the person write?
Huh?
Yes.
Because the person studied biology, but now the person wants to be a medical doctor, so you have to go back to school.
And I went to write JAMB.
You have to do JAMB. Yes, so those are the issues. But we'll come back to that because that's not what we're
that's very questionable.
How about you, Krumale?
Okay, so, Professor Ishak Oloyede.
Why was he crying?
Well, okay. Do you want me to start talking like I'm his aide?
You are almost there.
I was almost there.
He was empathizing.
Okay, I think. Okay, I'm not speaking for him, but if I'm to say something about the reason why I was crying, even though I did not like the fact that I was crying, and I do not think
it was not necessary.
I don't think it was necessary. I think he's a man of strong character.
How did you know?
Oh, okay. I can tell that from precedent.
Now you're stepping into his aid.
No, his disposition earlier when he was appointed into JAMB to become the registrar. We can all tell that since he mounted that saddle, there's been the level of performance has been high, very high. Yes.
Questionable.
I have questions.
Arguably.
Yes, because now
of course it's debatable.
It is because it won't jump into a revenue generating institution.
No. You see, that's equally not the issue.
That's not the issue.
Yes, what yardstick are you using to measure
performance?
Yes.
Oh, it's part of it.
Or because it's
revenue generation
is part of it.
Why should that be a revenue generating institution?
Okay, wait. Was there an increase in payment of JAMB fee?
Why?
Was there an increase?
Yes, but why?
Was there another point where it brought down the price? Yes. There was also another point in time. There was another point in time, another year, it brought down the price. Why did it bring down the price?
This is a life-changing examination.
No, wait. There is why? Oh no, yes. I think you should let me land.
You asked the question and I just answered.
But it's rhetorical. You don't need to respond.
Okay. Next time, just put question mark.
Okay, so the thing is, previous administrations that have been, driving the ship of JAMB have been submitting meager amount as the IGR to the government. That means, just a moment, that means there's been an underhand backdoor dealing and a question mark on the way they've been submitting money back to the government. That equally means that some persons are not declaring the total amount.
But
that's not even the main crux. But it's part of it in the sense that when he came in, first of all, in the first year that he came in, I don't think he increased JAMB fare. But you know what? He remitted. And when he remitted, that was where it blew up.
Remission of funds, that is your criteria.
Come on, right? You're getting the whole picture. Wait, just a moment. When he made that remission, and that was when the allegation came that he has turned JAMB into a revenue generation. But he just remitted how much students paid, which is the same amount students were paying before he came into the saddle. So that means the current administration were not remitting the right amount. It's just obvious. Okay. And he did that. That was even one of the things that made him famous.
Transparency.
And he brought in in technology into the space of writing them. And since he brought in that technology, there are students and there are regions that have shown themselves to be high standards and performance. In performance, in JAMB.
But it has always been there.
It has always been there. Fine. So, but you know, the thing is, drastic or little by little, we are moving away from the conventional use to a new age use. Now, he has accepted that, okay, technology did not come without a challenge. Technology does not come. Technology does not come. The reform does not come without its own challenges. And he has owned up and said, okay.
Is this the first time we're having computer-based testing?
This
is not the first time.
Okay, but is this the first time we are recording such a massive level of failure? Yes.
So you're blaming the technology.
Where 1,955,069 people wrote that exam, and 300,000 or so were the only ones that made it. This is the first time that the level of failure is this massive.
This mistakes happen. It's the same way elections before we used to go to thumbprint and then we moved to IREV and B portal and whatnot and whatnot.
Okay, well, and your elections reflect the voting of the people.
As it ever.
No, so we must put that. So you must actually talk about.
The point is, we moved to CBT. That was laudable. Yes, because we need to move past, paperwork. We need to move past paperwork. We need to go into technology. Yes, move with the globe. You understand? I get that. And then I'm still having a huge question as regards why JAMB should be a revenue generating institution.
JAMB is not a revenue generation institute.
That's the focus now, but that's
not the focus. But I don't think it's the focus.
That was what
it is not the focus. No, it's something that needs to be pointed out. That we need to let it out to the public.
Okay.
That some people who were occupying that position
so
were not remitting that amount.
Was it necessary for the increase? Was the increase necessary?
Okay. Was the reduction also necessary? Yes. And he reduced it.
What are you doing? I asked you a question. Answer my question. Was the increase necessary?
Obligated to answer your question.
I am
not obligated to answer your question. There is equally on a reduction. There was equally another reduction in the price of.
Let's move from remittance. I think that we're dwelling too much on remittance. Let's move on. Let's move on. This is just first year. We are still in his first year.
Why he cried?
Okay.
Let's move from the first year.
I had acknowledged earlier that there was no need for the tears, because I think the tears was as if he's trying to earn sympathy of the public. And there is no need for that. Because for me, I think he's a hero.
So he made a mistake.
He's already
being his hero.
I think he's a hero for what he had done since he occupied the Emperor of Affairs of JAMB. I think he's a hero. However, he had made. See, there's a technical glitch, please.
Okay, no, so my question.
We have had in cases in this country where scammers and internet fraudsters act government institutions.
My question now is, should the receipt be only?
Nobody shouted at the PAMSEC or the political appointee in that specific ministry. Why do you want to slay Mr. Olumide?
Just because something is a norm doesn't make it right. But that's not the source. Let me ask you a question now, Mr. Olumide. I'm going to move past that because apparently he's your hero, so there's nothing we can say that's going to say.
He's a hero in Nigeria. Examination,
hero.
Government,
he's your hero.
Governance.
And I feel
there have been people who cheated in this examination that Mr. Olumide had brought out his administration and been able to bring them out.
My question now is,
Professor Olumide.
My question now is, should the receipts be in only specific centers, or everybody should write JAMB again?
No.
Everybody should write JAMB again.
Can I come in, please?
The stress, the fatigue.
Okay.
There is already a glitch. I don't trust any result from this
so
set.
the glitch favored some people. Is that what you're insinuating?
Yes.
Can I
there were some people
we need
that
to define what a glitch is.
There were some people that did not sit for that exam and they have results.
They got results. Okay.
Chooks.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. We're still here, isn't it?
Yes.
It has to do with accountability. we are just showing that we are not a people that are open to be accountable. We are not a people that are open to be questionable.
Thank you.
What if I say no? They say because Omobola, for when he did it, what happened? Yahaya, when it was his turn, what happened? Why is it now my turn? It's for my place. No. To be direct is shameful.
It is.
I asked the question before we got to the studio. Say, who has resigned?
Yes.
Who has Prof sacked? Who has it brought and said, my department messed up, all of you are fired? This is an examination that well over 100,000, I'm just using direct words, 1,000 times 10s wrote. And you're coming out to just cry? Like cry is going to refund the
We have
time,
a suicide, we have a kidnap.
Time, parents, and institution have spent getting these people ready. And hope you know, these are teenagers.
The psyche.
A lot of them at this period, they are not adults. They are not young adults.
On how to handle.
Somebody should be fired. If it's not him, then he should fire people within JAMB. If he's done this much and taking JAMB from where it is to where we can all stay and talk about JAMB, yes, no, then by now you should have fired some people. And let's also get to tell ourselves some basic truth. Few hours, few days when this issue came up, they denied it.
Yes.
They said students failed.
Yes.
Yeah.
After, if I'm lying, say
it's a hero.
few days.
No, you cannot lie. I cannot say you were lying.
Few days when people now started bringing out receipt, the rhetoric now changed.
Okay, so
I don't know if you understand.
All right.
So let's get to that point where people are held accountable to their mess up. It is not a glitch. It is not called a glitch.
Okay.
A glitch has killed people. Please.
okay,
All right,
what,
so
okay, what,
in less than a minute, please.
okay, please. When you say a glitch had killed people, please, then we must be able to distinguish and put some things aside. For this purpose, we have to know that I had been in a group speaking with people even who run preparatory classes for JAMB students, just to converse with them about this issue. And I've seen their response. And you know what? Sometimes I just smile when you mention some things. It could be considered a political statement by saying a glitch. Well, a glitch has killed people. The glitch happened. 1 million people wrote that exam. Over 700,000 people failed according to the result.
According to the glitch.
Over 700, they did not all take their life. If someone has a
that's insensitive.
No, we're not being insensitive. I'm not being insensitive.
But we need to wrap up, please. We need to wrap up. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The question now is, should all students receipt for the exam? Yes. And should they all pay? Would they be made to pay again? Or
they don't have to pay.
They don't have to pay
for that
so,
exam again.
Lagos State is facing a civil service integrity crisis with 30% of overseas trained civil servants failing to return, according to the Commissioner, Afolabi Anyantayo. This adds to Nigeria's growing Japa trend, where professionals leave for better opportunities abroad. President Tinubu condemned the practice, especially as some absconders still receive salaries, and has ordered refunds and disciplinary actions. In response, Lagos State has introduced reforms, including cancelling remote work and launching public-private exchange programs to boost accountability and protect public investment. Let me start off with Omobola. This is quite huge.
It's not huge.
It's not huge.
First off,
it's not new.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
It's not new. It's not new.
Let's take it up.
I know. I've heard. Let me not say I know, so I won't shoot myself in the foot. I have heard.
You know some people. Okay.
I have heard. A little bird told me that there are people in the United States, even in the police force and the military, who are there and they're still collecting salary. This is something we all know.
It was well established last year. It was an entire report. I think it was The Guardian that went deep into it, and it was well established that there are thousands of people who have japad. Not people that maybe they traveled for vacation and they have potential that they're coming back. They have Japa, meaning they have relocated.
Gone.
Bye-bye.
And they're still getting payments from here, which is one of the questions on the EPs, but let's not look at that now. So if we're looking at this particular situation, there's a lot actually that, you know, should be looked at. That's why you see some organizations, when they organize trainings, you sign NDA or, you know, they hold on to your passport.
Yes.
You know, there was once upon a time, a certain popular musician, one of the Fuji musicians, traveled with some of his men in his instrumental. You know the story?
I remember the story.
And the guy got there, and then 2 people, you know, left. And when he was coming back, it was a struggle for him because they'd all traveled on his name, in his name. You understand? But now, I feel like it's not a factor of the people that have jackpot and all. It's the people that are here that are still enabling them. Because there are people here, they know that Olumide Sokoya is not coming back. They know.
Why did you go directly to him?
Is that your name?
Keep going.
No, but they know that this person is not coming back. They are still in communication with this person. They're still talking. And you now see a situation where you collect a certain percentage and then you know this person gets their money. So I think it's a system problem, and it's not just Lagos State.
Sure.
Lagos State just cast it. It's not just Lagos State. It's everywhere, and it is federal level, state level. Let's look at, in recent times, you know, we've seen situations where ministers will go for, you know, COP, one of the COP, whether 28 or 29, where we had a large delegation. And then
in thousands.
There was the last year on COP 29. You see that Nigeria had the highest after Egypt.
Yes.
And then you're wondering, why are all these people going for this program? It doesn't even concern half of them. There was a time there was a certain celebrity, influencer, that went for COP28. Why was she there?
The environment needs some shout out.
On the funds of taxpayers' money. Why did she go? And then you see some people, they say personal aid. What if I'm a minister, I'm traveling, and I take like 5 of my siblings on, these are
personal aids.
They are members of staff of you know, the ministry. They are going there for a certain reason and all of that. The enablers are the problem. It's not the people that are jackpotting. Because human instinct is survival. We want to survive. So it's the enablers that are the problem. So you have people here that are, don't worry, when you go, just let me know, and then we know how we'll sort this out. Or you have people, all these delegation, people that travel and all of that, that's a huge question mark. Why are all these people, 300 and something people? If you ask some of them what is climate change, they probably don't even know. And then you have 300 and something people going for COP28. I was asking someone the other day, what is COP28? They don't even know. But you see this number of large people going for this, you know, program. And then when they're coming back, only 9 people will come back. What happened to the remaining 200? They went to thank the Lord.
They went fishing.
Chooks, isn't there a way the Lagos State government or the federal government or the government can report some of these people via Interpol and the rest of them to maybe sanction them, deport them back?
How do you find them?
They have names.
Finding people is not difficult.
They have names.
But
yes, but that's where the issue is. Earlier on when we started, I said Lagos State and most states, government itself, they're just creating opportunities. If you want to catch a fish, you put a hook, dangle whatever it is. It eats it and the hook holds it. Now, we are in a peculiar situation where people are seeking opportunities outside. First 6 1 year, when they leave, they are officially hooked because they will tell you they converted that particular movement either to study leave.
Yes.
Because that's where it starts. Then the next study leave, then sabbatical for those within some particular sectors. But now let's face some fact. We know where they are. If we really want to know where they are, it's not them. It's a system.
yes.
It's a system that has been there and is working. the first thing you ask, well, can't we find them? Yes, but the person that is going to find them is his hands clean.
Is the person willing to help you find them?
Even if the person is willing, the person knows, okay, on one other part too, I have some dirt in my cupboard, and if I go that route, these other people will pull it open. So these are things we need to be able to say, okay, if we are sending people outside this country for one function or for one study or for one exchange, how do we ensure that integrity, when they are done, they get back? It's not difficult. You can as well inform the country where they are going to. Okay, Mr. A Atakumosa is coming. When he is done, it's your responsibility. We are paying this and this. Bring him back to us. And it's done. Several countries do it in the Middle East. Those that have conflict, they go and they hand them over to some athletes. And when they are done, those people bring the athletes, okay, see your people. So for those that have gone, if you decide to leave a service, just leave. You've taken the opportunity, yes, leave. Cut your ties with the ministry. If they take that opportunity, cut your ties with the ministry. At least save them.
No, they want, the opening so that just in case they come back, their job is still there, available for them. They can always come back to their jobs. I think that's just, the crux of it. Whereas you have the private sector struggling with the fact that people are resigning from abroad. I took a 2-week leave, and then from where I am abroad, I sent a mail. I don't think I'm coming back. Some people don't even send mails. They just say that they're not coming back. So I think it's just like you said.
Okay. So Krumale, over to you. Before that, I remember, this is a personal experience. When we graduated from school, I know someone who left the country and went to the US, and how he managed to get into NYSC and get a certificate remains a mystery. I know that. I know this one. It happened right in my... So it's about the enablers.
Allegedly.
Well, he never came to Nigeria. He never came back to Nigeria. He immediately graduated. So it's the racketeering, the people who are involved. So do you think the government should put a system, or should there be punished? Should there be punishment for the enablers, not just these people who have left, but the enablers?
Okay. During, in his book, The Accidental Public Servant, the former governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, when he took over as the minister of the Federal Capital Territory, he met a lot of rot on ground, and how he was able to sanitize the system, and sometimes at the threat of his life, and how he seemed to be back and forth in the good and in the bad books of those, even those who have pledged allegiance both in the military, the civil service, the civilian, and in the judicial system, who have pledged allegiance to the administration. But because he was executing his job, he was doing his job, he was always, at loggerheads with these functionaries and with these persons, prominent people. And one of the stories he mentioned was that of ghost workers. People sometimes die, and sometimes some other people travel out of the country and they never come back. What about the palm sex? What about the palm sex? What about the chief accountants? What about those in that same ministry who are responsible for preparing the payroll of that organization? Some of these people who are abroad, who run away from the service, that are not coming back, some of them, like Chooks rightly said, they've cut ties and they are gone. Sandra was saying probably some of them will come back. Yes, that's a plan of some, to come back, and they felt that the salary would have piled up, and they are coming back to another form of return on investment.
Retirement.
Yes, benefit. That some of them are never going to come back. To who? The money goes to who? Those in the system.
The enablers.
Those ones will never declare it. They will never declare it. Some of them will create a fictitious account and fictitious names for those monies to be going there. And because when they wield their pen straight, those money goes there.
Mr. Krumale, you just brought up a point now. The fact that there are some people that they have actually intentionally japaed. But you have some people who know that these people have
are
gone.
no longer there.
They are no longer in the system, and then they use their name and their paperwork to continue collecting the money. So it may not even be those people
at all. So the system knows, and they turn a blind eye. Malam Nasir discovered such cases running to thousands, and he was even asking the administrators of the system, and they kept mum. So sometimes the enablers are the ones that are promoting it. Other times those people want to eat from two pots, from two plates, and they have it perpetuated. So one other thing is, there's this person from the north, from the southeast, that the government was able to apprehend, and sent security agencies were able to apprehend him from Kenya, and he was brought to Nigeria and put in jail. And as we speak, he's still going through trials. Really? We could do that? Then we can do that to any civil servant.
But that's illegality, mind you. That's illegality, mind you.
Okay, no, I'm just talking about. I'm just talking about if the government
not alleged directly illegality.
Yes, so what I'm trying to point out is that if the government and say, I will get this person.
The political will.
I will get this person. They will get you.
On that particular issue, the government doesn't even need
Interpol. I'm not even flag you. This is your international passport. Please, your data is with the Nigerian immigration system. It is with the Ministry of Interior equally have access to that. Whether you are working in the state or not.
So I also feel that as part of, okay, so a select number of people are going to be traveling in this department, submit your names and all of that. Whilst they are doing all of that, there are paperwork that can be done, or there's a note that can...
They did it.
Some of these people, it's not like you go to get this visa yourself.
Organization sponsored, yes.
You don't need to appear.
Yes.
They just send a list. These are the people, this is what they're going for, this is what they're going for. They are sponsored by the states, that this is that. So just like he said, these are the people that we are sending, and then there's a flag on these people. It's not like they will monitor you, because that can be done. It's not like
it can be done.
I mean, you are already in the country, and then after the conference, of course, you may want to go shopping for your loved ones here, see what you can buy for them and all of that. It's not like DSS is going to be after you everywhere. Not all of that. But I believe that it all depends on, the international relations. We have sent these people out, and this is what we would require, for them to come back.
So I don't even think I think it's just standard procedure. It's all the description you just gave.
They already
standard procedure. They already do it.
Yeah, so we don't get to the point of telling the receiving country at the end of this period,
we're expecting these people back.
Okay, so the thing is,
so we don't get them because we have not seen our country as that.
The current administration in the UK is planning for how many percent immigration deportees for those who came into the country through asylum, who had overstayed their time, who lied one way or the other, falsified their document. They're doing that. The US is on top of their game concerning that. So it could be that some of these people will fall into that category. So one
Nigerians?
thing...
Nigerians?
Yes, of course.
As smart as they are?
Yes, like some of these people...
Some would have found
their way to regularize the papers.
Yes, they would have done that, yes. So one other thing is this. Can you... I want to talk about the things that... the benefit that we denied ourselves by this criminal act, by this action. The government of the day, in Lagos in this particular case, had looked at some of the skills that is completely absent in the civil service, and they found you worthy to be impacted, skills-wise, knowledge, understanding, training, because they felt you had shown yourself to have that capacity from your antecedents of work in that particular ministry. And with that hope and this betrayal of trust in you to take you out of this country, because they know that by the time you are back, the
If you
state
say
is
that,
going to get 10
I
times
can counter that with the fact that the
go.
government can do more as regards welfare of its workers as well.
No, but those are two separate issues.
Okay. Let's also know
that
this.
you are entrusted.
Okay.
You've been entrusted with this, and you went out there and you brought this level of disappointment. I think the best thing you would have done is maybe go, find a way that you are going to secure, you're going back, come back, resign, then leave.
Honorably.
Let's also get this. Aside creativity heading to where it's being paid better, aside that, let's also know that when it comes to some special skills and people that are gifted, it's not just Nigeria that is looking for them.
True.
Let's also know that
Poached, right?
A particular percentage of these people are poached the moment they get that place.
So I wanted to ask about the responsibility of the receiving state.
I don't know if you understand.
Yes.
So that is where diplomacy also come to play. If we remember during the era of the Cold War,
I don't know if a government wants to employ a Japa person.
they do.
Over there?
No, an illegal Japa person.
They do.
An illegal Japa person.
It depends on what you're carrying. It depends on what you're carrying. If you remember the era of the Cold War, the most expensive thing that was being stolen were human beings. People that were gifted in certain sectors, certain skills. As the US is stealing Russia, is stealing China, is stealing. You just wake up one day and some professors have disappeared. 6, 4, 5 years, you don't see them. Then after 8 years, you see them in one particular place. They're all living well, their children. Russia, as we speak, allegedly, are still looking for some people. Some years back, they poisoned somebody somewhere.
Yes.
I don't know. So these are things, it's still happening. But Africa is on the lowest part receiving it because they just dangle the thing and our people go. This still asks the question, have we agreed that we are Nigerians and looking forward to working for Nigerians? Now, government might not suffer it as much as the private sector. Typical example, late 90s, early 2000, banks were sending a lot of graduates to India to go acquire IT skills and come back. Early 2000, towards 2020, 2015 down, over 80% of them disappeared. So our banking sector had a lot of issues.
All right, this is where we would call it a wraps on Souq Business Landscape. It's been a pleasure staying with us all through the program. From here on, I am Olumide Sokoya.
And I am Oyinpreye Krumale. I would say a very big thank you for watching.
I'm Omobola Sandra. Thank you for staying with us.
Chooks, John Rogers, Chooks, let's do this again tomorrow.